Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about some of the biggest campaign traps in Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires. And what I mean by campaign traps, I mean campaign starting positions where you might think you should do things in a certain way, but in reality what you want to do is potentially completely different from what the game intends. And if you do things in an alternate way, it won't just give you an alternate path, it will give you a much better path, as opposed to what you might naturally think you should do. So in this case, we have Malekith. The logical path that you might want to take over here is go west and take the Altar of Ultimate Darkness, so you have an early game siege. Take that altar, deal with the Skaven, meet Grumbrindle, beat the crap out of Grumbrindle. But you don't have to do that. In fact, it is quite very harmful to do so. Partly that, yeah, you can avoid the war with Grumbrindle. There's no campaign victory condition, so you can even play this entire campaign allied to Grumbrindle. But also because in this specific campaign, you can gain significantly more power if you do things in an alternate way. And this, by the way, applies to a lot of Elven campaigns, so I think Malekith is probably the biggest example. That's why I'm using him. So what you want to do is come over here to this battle. This is without auto-resolve mod. So this is actually one of the few cases where I say, yeah, don't auto-resolve X-Bal. Though you may want to ensure you win this situation with a certain amount of slaves captured. So you might want to fight this manually, use the Cold One chariots to chase them down. Then come over here to Hal Cauldra, and again, auto-resolve. Like, seriously, like, just sack it. Over here with Mr. Malekith, and then Force March. Make sure you get Room Archer and Inspiring Presence, and Force March your way back. And now start making the settlement into Tier 2 settlement, and get the Dreadlord. Start getting Dread Spears. Now Malekith is a bit damaged there, you can avoid some of that damage obviously by fighting these battles manually. Get founded on Tyranny as a research. And then end the turn. What we're going to do here is we're going to march east. The reason I left that settlement intact, I could have taken it short, gotten some replenishment, but there's two reasons I left that settlement. One, I'm not going to defend that settlement, so the Skaven would just take it back. They would, because it would be undefended, and I don't want to spend the resources defending it. So anyway, just move Malekith over here, enable replenishment in foreign territory. Now we can make this a tier 2 settlement, and we can get this. Like, if you have enough slaves, you need to get like 120, 150, as you can see, but I'd say like 130 from each of those battles, like as a post-battle option, right? Beyond that, so you need like 600 anyway. So this will allow us to recruit Dark Shards with shields, and also allow us to get the slave pens, and on top of that, if you do own the Malice Darkblade DLC, so Shadow and Blade, you can get 2 Masters. Now, oh, I ran out of money. What am I gonna do? Ooh. Horrible thing, right? Well, there are options. Malekith does have a diplomacy bonus with Dark Elves, so we're gonna take advantage of that situation and just start working for non-aggression pacts and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, Dark Elves have a stance which allows them to move rather fast across territory. We can even get trade agreement with Hellbrand. We just need enough money for 2 Dark Shards and 2 Masters and Slave Pen and Artisan House. We could get other things as well, to be sure, but these are the buildings we want for the moment. That's why you spend the slaves. So it is important to get these amount of slaves. It will grant you significantly more power than if you don't. So the reason we're going for Grand, Valkia starts over Grand, she'll always win them. But the Spiteful Peak, which Grand controls, are an incredible resource in terms of financial power. Because one of the problems Malekith has in his campaign, Dark Elves are very strong economically, but his starting province is shit. Simply put. So instead, what you want to do in this campaign is you want to come over here, you will encounter Valkia, then for Valkia, you want to declare war on Grant. One of the reasons is we can get an agreement of some kind of description with her if we really want to. But I need some more money in order to make that happen before I do so. So one of the things, so what I'm going to do is go to Grant and declare war on the Cage Breakers. These are greenskins that are gonna have to start at war with, so it's not something you gotta worry about. That can give me a decent level of money, and that, nope, still not enough. Okay, then there are more we can do over here. So all-seeing eye. This is one of the tricks of the trade that you can use in a situation like this. Let's see if 2,500 is enough. Maybe even more.
No help needed.
Right here. Okay, so let's see, Valkia, declare war on Grant, and just get a trade agreement. The reason we're getting this trade agreement is because the way the AI works is that they are going to declare war on you unless you give them an incentive not to, and unless you prevent them from doing so. So what we want to do over here, like, again, no auto-resolve mods over here, just literally auto-resolving everything. Loot and occupied, we want the slaves. Okay, so that's money, and now, as long as you do things in this fashion, you can outpace what, you can outpace Valkia from taking Grant. You'll get a rebellion here, that's more slaves, that's more power, that's fine, right? So just get all of these buildings, get all of these capabilities, and you will be in a very strong position. And the reason we got this army, by the way, beyond recruiting Dark Shards, they'll be able to attack the Chilled Road right here in this particular situation. So you take Grant, you take the arena, then you deal with the Skaven, and I'd recommend trying to take the Rocto Gorge, or even going also so far as to deal with Ogres, selling that territory with the barracks to Grumbrindle, getting an alliance with Grumbrindle, although keep in mind, you may encounter a situation where Valkia and Grumbrindle declare war on each other, so be mindful of that. There's also all kinds of things you can do here, but the important thing, you are getting Grant. Anything else that you do is secondary to that, basically. And number 4 is Belegar Ironhammer. Now, the most natural thing you would do in this campaign is wipe out these orcs, take this element on turn 1. But you don't want to do this for a couple of reasons. One, you have an objective right here, that when you win 2 battles against this faction, you will get an opportunity to confederate Karakurt. That said, if you're playing on higher difficulties especially, the AI gets a bunch of benefits. Even on lower difficulties, it's not really important. So instead of doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to move Belegar west to deal with a certain rodent. So you're leaving this enemy faction alive. Now, by the way, that army is going to become a proper army that's going to move around the map after this turn. There's a bit of attrition right here, but what you'll want to do is as follows. You start with the tier 1 barracks, start getting a tier 2, no problem. Get a Rune Lord, and start getting dwarfs with great weapons. Yeah, spend the money over there, get heavy cornstones, get a bunch of different agreements. But you want to do 2 things. One, you want to obviously protect your capital. But the second thing is you want to deal with Skaven Blight. And Legend of Total War has done this multiple times, is very doable. Just don't even fight the initial battle. Like, you could think, oh, I should fight that initial battle, then run away. You would be marching for territory where you wouldn't replenish. It's just kind of an awkward starting position over here, I'm not gonna lie. So, what we do instead, right here, is we move Belegar next to Skaven Blight, we take a look at Ichthiclaw, and we declare war on Tylea. Yes, do this. Because when you're doing such actions, you're improving your diplomatic relations with, X faction. So over here, we got a small little army. just enough right here, and we set an ambush. And what the ambush will accomplish is that it will wipe those greenskins out. So that army right there will be resolved. Now we gotta deal with Skaven Blight. Oh, there are so many cheeses. Now you could say this is a cheese, but realistically, right? Like, yeah, that obviously didn't work out, unfortunately, right there. But now we can declare war on Skaven Blight and take it over. Yeah, we can auto-resolve. Now, if it's Ikaclaw, you have to fight this manually. You may want to fight this manually regardless. But I think if you have Ikaclaw in this situation, you've won. Right? And you can fight this manually. Keep in mind, Ikaclaw may have a nuke, so just bear that in mind. Over here we can get a Feign Hero. We actually want to delay those battles for as long as possible. Just worth saying that. And set Corruption. If you can take a barracks here, that's freaking great, because that is going to help you out. Now, Ikaclaw may come over here, and auto-resolve may actually be in his favor. We will see about that. Get increased mobility. He's gonna be on Tabaro, and he's not gonna have anything else except his initial army. So now you can go to Tabaro and wipe him out. Fighting, like, if Ikaclaw moves in Skaven Blight, that's a different discussion. But that's why declaring war on Estalia is so important, because it creates a false sense. When you're making deals with AI, the AI is going to take the perspective, if you will. Oh, this guy is my friend. We are not your friends. So now we can attack over here and maybe even auto-resolve that. Yeah, we can lose a lot of units, or, you know, fight the battle manually over here. I'd probably auto-resolve this, to be honest with you. I'd probably fight Skaven Blight manually and then auto-resolve this. Oh, we lose some hammers. Yeah, whatever. Trust me, this is worth it. You might take more casualties fighting it manually. So yeah, just get all of this. Take Tabaro. No problem. We can even sell it over there. Though, screw Estalia. We got different ways of handling this situation. So now we have Tylea controlling. We're gonna sell Skaven Blight to Tylea. We don't need to bother with it under our control. Like, even if you don't have a barracks, you might want to do this, because it will save you so much freaking time. It's not even funny. And this is how you play Belegar. Lots of casualties. Yeah, I agree. Lots of casualties, lots of damage. But again, I'm not using any AR mods or any AI behavior mods, and yeah, this is legendary very hard. So, but I'll get into fighting battles manually. The reason you want to fight battles manually, at least Skaven Blight itself, like, yeah, at most I would have taken a nuke there. It would have damaged the unit severely, but I would have probably walked away with far less damage right there, I would dare say. And losing the hammers was not especially great. So yeah, Aranessa is going to take Tylea. That is always going to happen. No problem. But that's fine. Or in this case, apparently she sacked it. Interesting. So doing this eliminates one significant fucking nuisance on your freaking border. And also allows Karkern to... That is a lot of grudging.
Very well, I will do as you ask. Armed and ready.
So in this case, if you're in this situation, yeah, you just start getting stuff done here. And we're getting replenishment because of our alliance with Tylea. So you want to move fast enough that you're taking over Skaven Blight. Hell, I could have even sold it a turn earlier, potentially, and gotten that alliance all the same. Though it's certainly the help to have a barracks over there. And number 3, it is Khazrak One-Eye. Now, one of the things to be said about armies is that there is a benefit in moving an army closer to the target whatever you have and then attaching the hero. Not attaching the hero then moving the army. I know, it seems weird, but you actually gain a bit of movement range. It used to be a problem over here for Khazrak that he couldn't actually fight the forest battle over there with the hero in his army. That's no longer an issue, but it's still something you gotta consider over here in this campaign. Now, you do obviously want to fight this battle manually, so it's like, yeah, that's one of the things to be said about a lot of freaking campaigns. When you start them, especially, in the vast majority of cases, unless there is a good reason, like, you know, avoiding a nuke from Ekekla, unless there is a good reason, you should always fight battles manually. Because, like, yeah, you end up in this situation where, like, obviously I can't win that. But we don't need to attack there instantly. We can wait one turn. And that's the thing about Khazrak's campaign. You're not under pressure to win as quickly as possible. You have an army that can get up to 100% ambush success chance and can recruit. You do want to Hearthstone as quickly as possible to be sure, and that means taking the forest. But all the same, constantly rushing is not necessarily the wisest idea. Like, certainly there is a tendency like, oh, I want to do stuff every time. But over here, you gotta understand the following situation with regards to the way the AI works. The AI will start recruiting after turn 1, but obviously they won't finish this until turn 2. Now, another thing to understand is that every single settlement in the game has an auto-resolve benefit. So me attacking there is not necessarily conducive like to my auto-resolve benefit. I could probably win this battle manually, but we can also just put the settlement under siege. They won't recruit extra units right here, because obviously by having them under siege, and then they'll come out. And with Wood Elves in particular, it's actually a benefit for you to have a field battle like this. I get it's still saying Valiant Defeat, it's still better. And also, interestingly, with Wood Elves, their settlements are designed in such a way that actually assaulting them directly is harder. Now, over here, there's 4 range units, a bunch of melee units. You can win this battle easily. So I'm just gonna, you know, lower the battle difficulty over here and get that close victory. Battle difficulty affects auto resolve. It's worth saying. Now, keep in mind, I would not recommend doing this in a regular campaign because it screws over the AI behavior, but just demonstration purposes, right? Over here. So you want to put this Hearthstone as your first Hearthstone, and then you might think, oh, okay, now we can go attack the Empire. In point of fact, don't. Because, see, the thing is, what is your objective as the Beastman? Is it to conquer territory? Kind of. Your objective, though, is to build these Hearthstones up. And you do this by either raising settlements around them or fight battles around them. Well, you got a bunch of enemies to potentially deal with over here. So, you know, Norland, all that kind of stuff. So instead, just declare war on literally everyone over here and wait for them to come to you. Outside of the greenskins, who have the underway, but they can't attack on the underway, none of the factions that surround you, so if we put Khazrak over here in an ambush stance, none of the factions that surround you can attack your settlement without going for you, which means they'll always get ambushed, and they'll be ambushed right next to the Hearthstone, which means they'll have to face the garrison in Khazrak. That's something you can auto-resolve even on Legendary. So just wait. Play the smart game. Play the waiting game. You have no reason whatsoever. Like, build that Hearthstone up. Everything that you accomplish in a campaign is gonna take time. So we got greenskins over there with an entire army. Let's try, you know, ambushing them. Oh, that won't work, right? But if we set up our lovely command tent again, keep in mind, this does have a freaking garrison. It's not full strength. But if we set up these guys, everyone is going to come to you that will give you a lot of marks of ruination, and that means that you can significantly, like, it probably was a bad idea, by the way, to attack over there, to try and attack that army, because they might not. There we go. 100% damage success chance, the entire garrison coming in. And Karl will do this, Todbringer will do this, Norska will do this, Norland will do this. They will all march all of their freaking armies right into your death trap. That's how you play Khazrak, the One-Eye. Because you have a 15% ambush success chance right here. As gigantic. Then you can move on. So instead of going out and fighting annoying settlement battles, you can just literally play this campaign on auto-resolve. Except the initial battle, like, yeah, you need to fight those battles initially. It will screw over the AI for a couple of turns if you lower the difficulty as I did, so don't recommend it. Or you can use some auto-resolve mod that removes the benefit that settlements have. Or, yeah, fight the battle manually, because you can. Let's see if Karl's coming. And because of the nature of ambushes and the nature of the AI will not send 4 freaking stacks initially, right? They will eventually, but you'll just ambush them one at a freaking time. So yeah, Karl in this case is not coming, so we just move out over here and we deal with the Black Pit. By the way, we can. So no problem whatsoever. Eventually Karl Franz will come and march against you because you're his only initial enemy. And that's the beauty of it. Norla may come, Boris Todbringer may come. If you want to make your life a bit easier, by the way, on this subject, there is a upgrade over here that upgrades your Hearthstone to tier 2. Typically you may not want to get it, but you're creating a death trap for everyone around you. Again, as opposed to going out there and just raising all these elements, and it might take you longer to finish this ritual, or you would finish a ritual that would not give you an extra army capacity. The reason you're doing all of this is you want to get at least a ritual rejuvenation 2. But if you're patient enough, you can even get it to level 3. I'd probably not bother with that, to be honest with you, in that situation. Also, it's worth pointing out that all these units you're seeing there, you can recruit some of them, like, so you can get Stigors, Sangors, all that, Korngors, 1 capacity by default. You just can't increase the dread over, you can't increase their capacity over here. Worth pointing out. Next up, we have Boris Ursus. Now, I've done a whole video on this entire campaign, so I won't spend too much time over here. But you can auto-resolve your way through a significant portion of this campaign. You can also cheese the crap out of it. How do you cheese the crap out of it? Well, there's a couple of ways around that specific aspect. You can play a Realms of Chaos campaign, save a bunch of ice switches with good traits that you can then take advantage of for your own purposes, like I did over here. I am looking for one in particular. I think I'm gonna go with the growth one, actually. But this isn't the important bit, really. Nor is the fact that you can get a Frost Maiden over here through the same bloody bullshit. Again, not the important thing. Which one do I want? Yeah, we can go with that, or we can go with cooldown to spells, missile. Do I have one control? Oh, we got one with missile strength, growth. Maybe we should go with that. Regardless, what is important here is that the natural perspective of an enormous number of people would be, we're gonna march east, take the monolith, then go burning monolith, then go howling citadel. Don't. Like, seriously, don't. Like, even if you want to take your control of this entire province first, go for monolith of Festralong, then take the howling citadel, loot and occupy, cause a rebellion, deal with the rebellion, then go for the burning monolith. Preferably by building a second army over here and force marching Boris back over from the Howling Citadel. But none of that is actually necessary. In fact, you can even get the peace agreement with these guys pretty early on. Yes, diplomacy is part of the game. Some people, I feel like, I'm going to be as blunt as possible, I feel some people are just like completely incompetent, in the sense that they ignore diplomacy, or they want to ignore diplomacy. I'm not sure how you call that. Really, just Like, if you ignore significant aspects of the game, that's fine, you know, play however you want. But then there's people who's like, oh, this campaign is really hard. It's part of the game. Region trading is part of the game. Diplomacy is part of the game. Peace agreements and abusing it, all part of the freaking game. But regardless of that little sentiment, what you can do, and what you should do, is go for a monolith of Estrang and then rush on the monolith of Bubonicus, which will give you a shot at killing Archeon very quickly in this campaign. And that is not the freaking joke. At all. Like, seriously. So, yeah, just start recruiting Kisavite warriors if you want to change your casters. If you don't, recruit a bunch of them, take the Festralong one, get a peace agreement, you might have to pay for it, and then take the monolith of Bubonicus. You can beat Archeon to it. That's the important bit. Beat Archeon to it, and he'll still move over here because that's kind of how the AI works. So he'll move over for this element, and you can catch him off guard. If you have magic, if you use one of these Frost Maidens, you can really make that situation easy. The one thing to be concerned about to Archeon is his Hell Cannon in the battle, but you can deal with that. You have Cav. Use it. And once you deal with Archeon, it's like, if you kill Archeon's main army, he's dead. Like, you can take his vassal out, you can take his citadel out, then you can deal with Arbol. The trap is people take this province and then Archeon shows up from the east and obliterate them, because obviously Archeon doesn't like you. And then while you're trying to defend against Archeon, the Demon Prince comes from the west. That is the significant trap in this campaign. I'm not saying abandon your initial province. I'm saying be smart about this. Like, I've played campaigns, like, at the moment, I think with Boris Ursus, it's actually much better to stay in your initial province. But you have such an army that you can defeat Archeon, you can defeat Arbol. You may not keep your territory, you may lose it to, you know, Demon Prince, Arbol, all that. But you can have, but as long as you have a full stack under Boris of Khazars, and the initial units he has, if you keep those alive, there's almost nothing that can defeat you, except maybe Tamarkan, but Tamarkan's got other things to deal with, right? Besides, you can probably wipe out Tamarkan when he's not there and let Kolek finish the job. In the sense that Tamarkan is going to march against Kolek with his main army, that's the danger. So you eliminate his capital, that gives an opportunity for Kolek to wipe him out. Just saying, there are ways to play a campaign. You gotta understand what the AI is going to do, how it's going to behave, and how you can take advantage of that. And finally, at number 1, we have High Queen Khalida of the Tomb Kings. This is the biggest campaign trap in the entire game, because for the following reasons. You start the war with these vampire counts, they have an army over here south of you, they have an army over here north of you. And the trap is, the first trap is that you might think, oh, I'm gonna take the Doomglade. Don't take the Doomglade. Because that army over north, what do you think it's gonna do if you go for Doomglade, then over here to the west, all that? It's gonna come over here and take your initial settlement, which is gonna hurt your recruitment a lot. But the bigger problem has to do with Forik and Krokgar. See, both Krokgar and Forik don't like you. Both Krokgar and Forik, their expansion is in a path that takes them next to you. So for Forik, it's always going to be Karagorund. In the case of Krokgar, it's always going to be the Temple of Skulls. And when they take those settlements, when they wipe out their initial enemies, Skaven and Greenskin respectively, they're going to look at around them and decide, okay, who am I going to attack next? Ooh, let's attack the weak vampire lady. And weak in the sense that you can end up very weak in this campaign initially. In terms of dynasty, I would certainly recommend getting the 4th dynasty because it gives you Tomb Guard options. Now, in terms of the initial battle over here, you can auto-resolve it, that's not really a problem. Like, don't worry too much about that. But what you don't want to do is auto-resolve too many battles, because you can end up in that kind of trap. Like, it's not important that Khalida takes damage here, by the way. So what you want to do is recruit a bunch of archers, get your barracks to a higher level. But it is important to try and minimize casualties. They're having a decisive victory with few casualties over there. It's like kind of unimportant as far as I see it. So don't worry too much about that. But every other battle after this, you're going to want to be careful about it. Another trap in this campaign that makes your life a lot harder is the Books of Nagash. This is not so much of a trap as it is the bullshit of the Books of Nagash, because basically, when you're starting this campaign, if you really want to play this campaign, I would recommend just starting this campaign over and over and over again until you get the 5th Book of Nagash here in the Lost Plateau. That also is another trap. It's another trap because the only way to gain the Books of Nagash, yes, you want the 5th book over there, but the only way to gain a Book of Nagash is to take the settlement yourself. So how do you go around that? Well, what you want to do here is you want to march north towards Lamia to eliminate that 2nd Vampire Count's army. You could force march it, but you will actually have fewer units, and crucially fewer ranged units. You do have artillery, you have Ushapti with great bows. The game is basically screaming at you in some ways, go fight the siege, because you have the capability of winning it. How do you have the capability of winning it? Oh, it's pretty damn simple, actually. Like, just recruit a bunch of units over here, and yes, these guys will get extra units, but here's the critical aspect. It's all melee units. And I'll show you a portion of the siege to understand exactly how to deal with it. But once you take Lamia, and you're absolutely capable of taking Lamia, you go for Marak, then you take the Grana Massive. And dependent on how you encounter Forik is likely to declare war on you in the following scenarios. When he doesn't have an enemy faction to fight, when other factions around him he hates, and 3, when a faction is much weaker than him. So what you want to do is you want to take the settlement, and every other battle here, you want to minimize your casualties. The only battle you cannot resolve here early on is that initial one, this one you fight. But let's go over the siege. With regards to siege battles, the key to winning every single one of them is to minimize your casualties every single time. In the case of what Khalida is dealing with over here, she's got a settlement over here that has towers on the sides, but there's also this gate and this gate which don't have towers protecting them. So you deploy your entire army in this situation, and you may even want to knock down a tower or 2. None of the enemy units will shoot back, so essentially this entire section of the walls is undefended. And what you do is fairly simple. Deal with some of those towers. You can use Khalida to batter down the gate if you want to. But what you do here, and yes, I know, it is a shit way of playing the game. I know, trust me, this is why I hate freaking sieges. It's like, oh, sieges should be challenging. They're not challenging. They're not fucking challenging. This is how you do them. You literally park your entire range army. If you're a range faction, this is what you do. If you're a melee faction, you blob everything up and you build units, like Chaos Warriors, for instance, Ogres, all that. You build those units to batter down the gates. And yeah, you can easily win this with minimal casualties. Or, if you can't win it one go, you can have enough movement range to come back. Like your retreat, you go again. That's how simple it is. An alternative to fighting that siege, by the way, is you just put this element under siege and then you wait for them to march out. I would not necessarily recommend that if you're playing on Legendary very hard with massive stats modifier. I would recommend at least weakening the army by attacking the settlement and expanding your ammunition. And maybe waiting out the timer or whatever. Just maintaining the siege, like waiting out the timer, right? Of that to maintain the siege. Because like one of the things is like you can just wait, basically set the battle time limit to 20 minutes. Or you can just put this element under siege. And when it's under siege like that, just wait for the opportunity to present itself that you can take advantage of. Now, with regards to Forik and Krokgar, you want to declare war on Krokgar's enemy over here, because you just want to incentivize them to not attack you. And one of the things you can notice is Forik attacked the Skaven. That's because I'm not weak enough for him to think, oh, he's going to be an easy target, whereas those Skaven, which Krokgar starts at war with, is that freaking weak. And that is absolutely something that you can take advantage in this campaign. Also, I could have taken advantage of other things as well, like, you know, to get that ritual going. You may want to do so in this situation, like just declare war on a bunch of different things. Yes, things, we're going to use that term. And if you really want to avoid war with Thoric, you can sell him the Granite Massive. The issue, if you will, that you still want that Book of Nagash that he holds in his territory, and you can only claim it by taking the territory yourself. So here's how you deal with that. You give him a settlement, you don't get a non-aggression pact or anything like that. That should be enough if you maintain your faction strength for Thoric to leave you the fuck alone. Don't sell him a rock, or you can sell him a rock and just get the Granite Massive to a higher level. Or you can get one of these Necrotects over here. Regardless, yes, this is still legendary. But regardless of that specific situation over here, like, yeah, I'm just gonna sell him this one settlement. Don't get any agreement, don't get any kind of diplomatic agreement, and he'll leave me the freaking hell alone. I've killed a lot of zombies, what can I say? And then what that means is I can march for all of... Yeah, I probably should have done that ritual earlier. Side note, you don't want to do that ritual ASAP. But the importance here is that Thoric will not declare war on you while you're marching through his territory. And what that means is, because of the way the AI works, so Thoric right now declaring war on the Skaven. By the way, Skaven wiped out, but he's not likely, neither he or Croc are likely to declare war. Maybe the biggest problem is like this freaking army, but I don't think they can win their way through Labaras. Or maybe they can and I have to knock them out. Doesn't matter. I've given myself the breathing space right here to be able to do a bit of a sneaky Skaven move. Because see, you could fight Queek, you could fight Thoric, you could fight Krokar, but you would spend every single second of your campaign doing that. That's where the trap is, where you fight here. Even if you take Lamia, that is a trap. You clearly don't want to do that. Okay. They will not win that battle, by the way. So instead, what you want to do here, in this situation, is you want to get out of here freaking ASAP. So start building a barracks right here, a second barracks, disable income, march through Thoric's territory right here, take the last plateau, and then sell him a rock for a peace agreement. If you can avoid a war, it's a bit iffy. Depends on the casualties you take in battle, though I actually did take a decent number of casualties over here taking Lamia, so it is a bit of RNG, certainly. But just keep in mind, as long as Thoric has an enemy, he might declare war on Scarbrand for all we know, right? Was that necessary for me to move there? Maybe. But yeah, as you can see, these guys cannot defeat the garrison of Lamia, so they're just sitting in for a prolonged siege. Let's go kill them. It's a bit of a waste of time on my part chasing down these guys. Bit annoying, not gonna lie.
High Queen Khalida.
Also, one of the things you want to do when you have the campaign movement range active is just get Canopic Jars. The research is 2 turns away. Right here. So we're just gonna go for the Lost Plateau, force march our way through Thoric's territory, claim the Lost Plateau, and then sell him the Granite Massive. So over here, turn 15, yes, I know it's been slow, but that's because I took this entire province. You can waste so much time just taking this province, and it's completely underdeveloped and completely unnecessary in a lot of ways. That's also one of the traps. But we are just going to take the Lost Plateau from Thoric over here. So we declare war, literally auto-resolve, take the plateau, and this is auto-resolve, unmodded, legendary, whatever. Sell this, And then with the Grand Massive, where I built the barracks, it's just like, well, I can sell the Grand Massive and get a peace agreement with him. It won't give me a lot of money, but it will give me a peace agreement. And Fork won't break that. You gotta understand, the AI is not in the business of like, oh yeah, we just made the deal, let me just break that instantly. That's not how the AI works in this game. So instead, what you can do here is like take the last plateau, build the barracks, and if you sell the last plateau, you're very close to a fucking vassalization agreement with Fork. In fact, if I sold him maybe Lamia or something like that, I could actually get a vassalization agreement with Fork right now. So maybe someone can explain to me how they struggle in this campaign. Because like one of the common things you see people post on Reddit and other places is like, oh, I end up in a war with Kronkar and Fork. I have played a number of campaigns as Khalida. I've had that happen, but it's always going to happen if you go south, you take too many casualties, you lose Libaris, because the army here is not going to be inactive. It's going to go for Libaris. You want to defend it. Now, there's multiple ways of dealing with it, like putting up an ambush, waiting for them to move out of Alamia once they have a full stack, if you don't want to deal with the garrison army at once, and you don't want to use the siege cheese. So many choices, so many things. And as for taking the Lost Plateau, you don't need to do that. I only did it for the Books of Nagash, and it's like, yeah, the Book of Nagash you really want to, and this is another trap in Tomb King campaigns, in particular Cetra and Khalida. You want to ensure the 5th Book of Nagash is in a close position, because it's the best book you can get. It gives you 5 unit capacity for regular Tomb Guards, 5 regular capacity for 5 capacity for Tomb Guards with halberds. 10 units. That is extremely powerful. Is bullshit in a Tomb King campaign, to be sure. One of the reasons the Tomb Kings do struggle. But still, maybe someone can explain to me on that. Maybe you don't want to engage in settlement trading and diplomacy. It's like, okay, I didn't need to sell territory to Vorik to avoid the war with him. Maybe you have to sell like one settlement. The AI does want to, one of the things to understand though, the AI does want to control whole provinces, and Fork does always want to take care of government. His AI is scripted like that, so he always wants this, and he's more likely to declare war on you if you hold this. So even if you don't want to sell stuff, don't take this province. No joke. Take Lamia, move south, take the crater, deal with other things. Confederate, vassalize Fork, and then declare war on Kronkar. Or just ignore them, really. They might end up at each other's throats anyway, or they might end up fighting other factions, as has happened here. So you can avoid the war altogether with both of them, and just come over here in Kasabar, beat up Cetra. One thing I would say, you want to be active in your campaign, and you want to, especially the early game, this is not about being hyper-aggressive conquest and all that. This is about sorting your early games. The first few turns, yeah, you want to take your initial province, you want to deal with your initial enemies one way or another. But then how you play is really up to you. But it is those first few turns that are the crucial ones. And that is the important aspect to always remember over here with regards to campaigns in general. Don't ignore diplomacy. Don't ignore your faction strength. Casualties are important, not just in determining, oh, you might think, oh, I can just fight this battle, I take and I take casualties, but I can replenish them, because you do start with a replenishment hero. Well, the problem is, you may start with a replenishment hero, but your faction strength is dictated by the strength of your armies when you click this button. So if you take a lot of casualties in a battle, your faction strength is obviously going to be affected. So always keep that in mind, because if you ignore that and you like lose, your units are down to 10% HP and you only have one army, chances are a lot of factions are going to be like predators on that, especially on higher difficulties, by any difficulty really in the game, and there's going to be like, oh, that's a juicy, easy target. That's all I had to say. Christine Zanyad. Actually, I would add this. One of the things that makes a good player good, and I say this as someone who's played on a very high level in World of Warcraft, in Classic. And I've also played with people from like, high-end guilds as well. And not just high-end Classic guilds, high-end retail guilds. Like Method, right? When it was the #1 guild. What makes those kind of players good is not like, oh, cheesy strats and all that kind of stuff. Sure, But it's also the willingness to adapt. It's also the willingness to just go out there and do stuff. And yeah, like willing to grind when other people aren't. It does sometimes get a bit ridiculous. Actually, it does get a lot of ridiculous all the time. It's not necessarily like some innate skill. It's repetition. It's aggressiveness to some extent in terms of how you play the game. Or just being active. Also willing to learn from your mistakes and not holding on to a particular playstyle. Because I'm sure that's also a trap a lot of people fall into. It's like, oh, I want to play the game this way. Well, the way you play the game may be flat out wrong. And you might be surprised how many people are unwilling to change that. Even on high-end levels in video games, let alone, regular levels. Kostin Sanya.